On Used Bike Heaven this week, we're with Kerry Hodson, who's in search of a 600cc bike, and we have 3 stylised machines for her to sample. Also this week, we'll have another used bike bargain, some more tips from Gary in the workshop, and some more advice from me for those looking to buy a used bike. This is Kerry Hodson. Kerry's from Belper in Derbyshire and has been riding for over 7 years. She works for a company specialising in lubricants and often gets to ride their Hornet 600 test bikes. Kerry's looking to trade up from her VFR 400 to help her keep up with fiancé Lee on his GSXR 600. This week we've chosen 3 very different 600cc bikes for her to try.
Welcome to this week's show, and this is Kerry.
Hi.
Hi. Now, Kerry, you have a VFR 400, don't you?
Yes.
So what's all this about you needing a more powerful bike?
I need to be able to keep up with my fiancé Lee, who has a GSXR 600.
Right. Okay. Well, we've got 3 600s for you here. So what do you use your bike for?
It's purely a hobby bike, purely for weekends, playing on.
Right.
A toy.
Okay. We've got 3 bikes for you here. We've got the Eliminator, the Bandit and the CCM. All very different, as you can see. What do you think of them looks-wise?
Initially, I would go with the Bandit.
Yeah.
I'm not a custom cruiser fan, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Right.
That one's a bit odd looking, not sure about motocross
Yeah,
style, but I'm pretty tall, so I might get on okay
They are
with
quite
that.
good fun though, those.
Yeah,
you might find
looks
that
like a
quite
fun
good
bike.
Yeah, exactly. So now, do you have a budget? We remind me again of it?
Between sort of 3,000 and 4,000,
Yeah.
really.
Right, so we've got 3, 3.5 and 4. So we're well within
Right.
your budget, so you can fall in love with whichever one you want.
Okay.
Okay, well now before we let you loose on them, Richard is going to give you a few hints and tips.
Okay.
Well, Kerry, if it's a 600cc bike you're after, we've 3 variants for you to consider. Firstly, we have the CCM 604 RS. Coming from Blackburn-based CCM, you can be assured of the best of British with this bike, and it is the road-going version of the 604E British Supermotard competition bike. This single-cylinder machine loses none of its race-winning performance, but it does gain a set of lights, some indicators and a front mudguard. It's a real attitude bike. And with just over 2,000 miles on the clock, a good buy at £4,000. Next up, we have the Kawasaki ZL 600. This baby cruiser is powered by a smooth inline 4 motor and has the advantage of a shaft drive, which makes for a balanced power delivery and no messy maintenance with those horrible chains. With a much lower seat height than the CCM, it could be the perfect companion for the sweeping Pennine roads of Derbyshire. With just over 9,000 miles on the chrome-trimmed clocks, can this P-Reg Eliminator appeal to your wild side at only £2,900? Last but by no means least, we have the Suzuki Bandits 600. This cult-followed bike is one of Suzuki's best sellers and the machine which bikes like Honda's Hornet and Yamaha's Phaser were launched on the back of. It's a practical, naked bike that handles well with a versatile 600 lump in its cradle chassis. This stock X-Reg example has 5,800 miles on the clock and is priced at a reasonable £3,500.
Well, thanks for that, Richard. And you heard the old wise one there, Kerry, didn't you? Telling you about
did,
the
yeah.
CCM. We're going to start you off on that.
Okay.
Have you ever been on anything like that before?
No, I haven't, no.
Well, take care and have fun, because it's a fun
Will do.
bike.
Okay, thanks a lot. See you
Enjoy.
later.
And while Kerry gets ready to take the CCM out, here's Richard with this week's used bike test.
Clearly, the main feature about the Honda CB1300 is its size. It is big, really, really big. But don't let that scare you, my friend, because once you get to grips with the thing, something odd happens. Strangely, it doesn't seem quite so big after all. Unbelievably, for a bike that's bigger than a barge, get it on the move and really it does shrink to fit around you. It feels positively unterrifying. Quick, flickable. I'm beginning to get a bit confused. Am I on a big cruiser here or not? Of course, if you do decide to go the naked street bike look, you are going to have to get used to old giffers coming up and clapping you on the back, saying that's a bike that looks like they're used to. None of that plastic, made of one material. Yeah, wood probably, carved from one lump of oak. It's not about backlane scratching, obviously. There's plenty of power, but it doesn't really set the world on fire. A lot of them have been restricted, so get past 6,000 revs and it's all over. Don't go waiting for a last-minute surge of power. There isn't one. It's not a complicated formula, really, is it? And it's one that's been followed for as long as people have been making bikes. Take one whacking great engine and stick it in the middle, put a wheel at each end, a seat on top and a set of bars at the front to steer with, and there you go, one bike. Of course, the difference is, with this being a more modern bike, it is made with a little more sophistication than the rugged machines of old, which means it stops, goes and steers just a little bit better. Basically, though, what you get for your money is what you see. It's not complicated. There's one huge 1300cc inline-4 engine from Honda, of course, the same engine as you'd find in the X4. And from then on, it's a bit of a mixture, really, of retro touches and ultra-modern. At the front end, there are hooting great 6-pot calipers to bring the whole tank to a halt as quickly as possible. Whilst at the back, we've got good old-fashioned looking twin shocks. We've also got on this particular one the biggest set of cans I've ever seen, and a set of crash bars apparently made from a reconstituted girder bridge that, from what I can see, don't give a great deal of protection to the crankcase. It's left to fend for itself. We buy bikes like this, of course, because there are many of us that can remember our mates hooning about on machines that looked a lot like this one, whilst we frothed with jealousy on our Yamaha Fizzes. Now, of course, we're all grown up, which means we can have one all of our own. Overall, despite looking good enough to impress your mates with your manly machine, it's a very easy machine to use. If I had one, I'd probably find myself using it, and this will be a surprise, like something at the opposite end of the biking scale, a scooter. Very easy to hop on and scoot around town, all the time looking good.
Well, as you can see, Kerry has returned on our CCM and she's smiling. What did you think?
Well, when I first saw it, I thought this is quite an ugly looking bike.
Yeah.
And it's quite high.
Yep.
And I was a bit wary of riding it, but I got on it and I could touch the floor and I felt okay.
I mean, it's tall, but it's not fat, is it? It's
no, and it felt very light.
Yeah.
I noticed it was a very light bike.
Yeah.
And then as I got riding, I was very impressed. I found it real good fun. I was smiling straight away.
Yeah. Now it's a single cylinder, so it's quite
clunky.
Yeah.
The gears are very clunky. You really have to be quite aggressive in changing gear.
Yeah.
But once you're in the right gear, it's really quite a nice, smooth bike. It's difficult to sort of keep
when you're going a bit slower.
Yeah, slow in traffic. But
so overall, then, it's fair to say you like the way it rides.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah? Now, looks-wise, what do you think? I mean, it's a little basic, isn't it?
Dashboard extremely basic, yes, and it doesn't indicate when you're in neutral, which I found quite difficult to get on with.
Especially if the gears are hard to find as well. Yeah. And this is quite expensive, this bike.
Yeah.
The most expensive of the three.
Yeah.
But I can take you onto something a little cheaper.
Okay.
Which is the Bandit,
right.
which you originally liked.
Yes, it's my
favourite. So, well, get your helmet on.
Okay, I'll swap keys.
Swap keys, and get yourself off on that.
Okay.
And tell me what you think when you get back.
Radio. See you later.
Well, while Kerry takes off on the Bandit, here's Gary in his workshop.
Here's a problem that you may come across. We're looking at hydraulic systems today. It could be the clutch, it could be the brake master cylinder, it doesn't matter. But what sometimes happens, you get an air bubble because the top of the union here is actually higher than the main piston assembly. So what happens, you're pumping away, you're trying to get all the air out of the system, but you've got an airlock in the top. Now, there's no real way round doing it. If it had a side stand on the other side, you may be able to tilt the bike over slightly to bring this lower than that. But unfortunately, we're here on our own, we can't do anything about it. The only thing we can do is actually unbolt it from the handlebar itself and then try and bleed the air out of the top of this union. So let's get on with that. Right, now we've removed it from the handlebars, we'll just straighten the bars up slightly. What we're going to try and do is get this level here lower than that level there. So all we're going to do is we're going to tip it slightly. Just be careful of the fluid, it doesn't come all over the area there. And then we're just going to pump it. And you'll see now that all the air bubbles are rising to the surface because the airlock that was in there is now finding its way back into the master cylinder itself. Just give it a few pumps and there we go, that's all the air coming out of it. You don't have to pull it all the way back, just a few little short pumps will get rid of all the air. Once the air has gone, we can then put this back on again, being careful. We can put it back on the bar, we can then bolt it back together. Like that, one there, tighten those up and then we can carry on and bleed the clutch in the normal way. Say exactly the same if you've got a problem with the brakes, you do it exactly the same. It's just the way the angle of the handlebars actually holds the master cylinder. Simple as that.
Well, thanks for that, Gary. Some useful information there, as usual. Well, Kerry's out on the Bandits, so we may as well take a break. But join us in part 2 when Kerry takes the Eliminator out. See you then. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. Now in part 1 you'll remember that we were helping Kerry here to find a 600. We've sent her out on the CCM and the Bandit. You liked the CCM?
Yeah.
What do you think of the Bandit?
Yeah, I like the Bandit. It's nice, it's smooth, it's really nice to ride. It feels very comfortable, the seat's very comfortable. The riding position's really nice. It sort of holds the road really nice.
You like it, don't you?
I do. Only one complaint I have is
Right.
with no screen, no fairing or anything, I could feel the wind sort of on my chest,
Yeah.
so it probably could do
On long
with...
journeys, motorways, bypasses, anything
Yeah.
like that, you're going to get a bit of...
yeah, I think you're going to feel
Well, you
it.
can
but-
adapt that if you like it, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, of course.
So handling, now it's a heavier bike than the CCM, obviously.
It did feel heavier, but not too heavy. I still felt comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It was fine. Sort of at slow speeds, I was okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's no problem.
And looks-wise?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's,
Yeah. Traditionally, you're into sports bikes, aren't you?
yeah, but it's growing on me
Yeah.
now. Now I've ridden it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talk about growing on you. Hopefully, the Eliminator.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't like custom bikes, do you really?
Not really. No, I don't
No.
know. They're not my favourite.
It's very low, this one.
Yeah.
Well, would you
Yeah.
like to?
I'll
hop
give it a
on?
go. Yeah.
You may as well give it a try now. You're
Well,
here.
yeah. Okay.
All right then, enjoy.
Right. See you.
So while Kerry gets herself off on the Eliminator, here's Richard with a few tips if you're thinking of dabbling in the used bike market.
Every week on Used Bike Heaven, we bring you used bike buying tips, sometimes on a specific theme, other times it's just a bag of useful tips, and this week it's just that, a bag of useful tips, coming courtesy of the boys here at Motorcycle City in Tamworth. So get your notepad and pen ready, because your next bike purchase might just be featured in the next few minutes. The Suzuki Hayabusa. It's very big and very, 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 very fast. And therein lies a clue to the way that you can tell if a Suzuki Hayabusa has had a nasty front ender. And the secret lies down here. On the original full-fat Hayabusa, the speedo registered up to 220 miles an hour. That's very, very fast indeed. Then in 2001, Brussels got involved. The bike was electronically limited in every gear above third, and that was reflected in a speedo that only showed up to 185 miles an hour. So if you're buying a pre-2001 Hayabusa and the speedo only shows up to 185 miles an hour, why do you think that is? Because it's had a new speedo. And why has it had one? Well, probably not because the owner didn't like the colour of the previous one. Odds are it's had a nasty front ender, so stay away. The Ducati 996, a very, very nice bike, even second hand, if it's been well looked after. If it's been abused, then it could be an expensive disaster. Well, here's a very quick way to tell something about the previous owner. Assuming the bike hasn't just been steam cleaned, take a look down here at the rear shock, at the swinging arm, in fact at everything from the engine back. If it's all coated in oil down here, that gives you a hint that it may have been subjected to monster wheels. The reason you can tell this is Ducati 996s, 916s, in fact loads of Ducatis, when they are subjected to lengthy, sustained, almost vertical wheelies, they'll dump the engine oil out through the airbox onto the rear of the bike. Now, if you are buying a World Superbike Championship bike, well, there is a modification that's carried out to those to prevent this happening. It's actually a modification to the airbox. Assuming you're not buying one of those, that modification won't have been made if there's oil on the back of the bike, it's had some serious wheelies. Maybe not a bad thing, but it does mean that even if only for a mile or so, the engine has been run with not enough oil, and that is a bad thing. Now, there is a technical term for this dumping of engine oil out onto the back of the bike, but it's very rude, and I can't tell you it now because for all I know, you could be watching with your granny. Ask the guys at your local dealership, they'll tell you. The Suzuki SV650S, nice bike, pretty little bike, a good starter bike. Now the odds are with bikes like this, starter bikes, they probably haven't been thrashed, trashed, abused and wheeled up the high street, and there is of course a very easy and quick way to check that, obviously. Take a quick look at the rear tyre and check the wear. Well, it goes up to here, this is worn, this is fresh, virginal and used tyre, so this can't have been canted over and thrashed at crazy angles. Good news. But before you go hooning out of the showroom with it, tip it into your favourite roundabout at warp speed, Captain, bear one thing in mind, that is new tyre. It's just as new as if it was fresh out of the box and straight on your machine, so it's going to be slippy, it needs scrubbing in, so take care. Interestingly, there is another technical term for that band of unused tyre around the outside on the back wheel, and I just daren't say it. I'll get into trouble. Pop into your local dealer, ask them, they'll tell you.
Do you know, he's full of it, is our Dickie. Anyway, enough about him. We're back with Kerry, who's back with the Eliminator. What did you think?
Well, first impressions, I really didn't like it. It's not my style of bike.
Yep.
You'd sit very low. It is comfortable, the seat's very comfortable, but I find it very heavy.
Yes.
Very difficult to manoeuvre at slow speeds.
Right.
It didn't actually feel like a 600. It felt the power was just
a bit slower in comparison with the other two.
Yeah. You accelerate and nothing happens for a while. It's sort of a gradual build up, whereas the others.
It's a laid back cruiser style.
It is. Yeah, it is, and it's no good for sort of around town at all.
Yeah, exactly. Now this is actually the cheapest of the three bikes. Does that make a difference to you?
I'm not surprised it's the cheapest actually. I mean, it looks cheap and it looks about 15 years old, even though it's actually only 5 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think I'm going to leave that one there then, because I can tell what you think of that. So, a brief summary then. The CCM, good points.
Great fun, real good fun bike. I was smiling all the time I was riding it. Really
Now,
good.
you didn't like the look of that, did you?
No, I didn't, no.
And so if you'd have gone in the showroom, what would have happened?
I would have just walked straight past it, completely ignored it. But I'm very impressed with that one.
Yeah?
Yeah, really do like that one.
Bad points?
Bit too clunky. It's noisy. I think it's okay for short journeys, but on a motorway, I think no.
Right.
No way.
Okay.
It's a real fun bike.
Yeah. Bandit?
Yeah, I like this one. Really good all-rounder. It's nice and comfortable.
Yeah.
Nice riding position.
Could do longer distances
Yeah,
with a bit
I
of
think if you had a screen, I think
Mhm.
long distance should have no problem. Everything felt in the right place. It was nice. I
Bad
liked that one.
points?
No real bad points other than the possibly the screen.
Yeah.
Could be a little bit heavy for some people. I mean,
Right. Yeah, because you're quite tall, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're quite good with your stature.
and reasonably sort of strong. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Right. So the Eliminator
is eliminated.
is eliminated.
Yeah.
Very good. Right. Okay. So have you made your decision?
If I had to take one away today,
Don't tell me just yet.
okay.
Because here's Richard with a little recap on the three bikes.
Okay.
Well, Kerry, will it be the Super Motard from CCM? As you said, the 604 RS wasn't the most attractive bike initially, but did the pokey single cylinder that made you grim come up trumps? If it's the cruiser lifestyle you're after, can the smaller Kawasaki be up your street? It may not break any land speed records, but as you admitted, it wasn't quite as horrible to ride as you'd expected. Or maybe you'll opt for the machine that most bikers have ridden at least once, the 600 Bandit. From its versatile engine to its thoroughbred retro looks, is this well-priced bike the one you long for?
So Kerry, which one is it going to be?
Well, when I first saw all three, I thought I would definitely choose the Bandit. After riding the CCM, it made me smile so much. I'm so impressed with that. I mean, I came here with the intentions of picking a sports bike, moving on to a 600 sports bike,
But we've confused you.
completely, because these are completely different style of bikes. None of them are really outright sports bikes.
No.
And I'm very confused.
Right.
But
I gather you're not going to go for the Eliminator though.
no, that's really not my style.
Right.
No.
So it's
But-
down to these two.
Yeah, and I think if I had to pick one, probably the Bandit, because it's a general all-rounder, but I do like the CCM.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, thank you, Kerry. And it's fair to say that the Bandit has stolen the show. Sorry. But see you next week for some more Used Bike Heaven.
On next week's Used Bike Heaven, we take Darren Rudd to find a custom cruiser to replace his current bike, which is a VFR 750. Darren's looking for something big, shiny and comfy, and we'll do our best to fix him up. There'll also be more buying tips, more workshop advice and another used bike review.